are listening to LOA Recon with the Good Vibe coach Jeanette Ma, where we dissect the ins and outs and the art and science of conscious creation, all intended to amp up your manifesting game. Let's have some fun together. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for tuning in for another episode. My favorite dog is super sleepy right now, so I did not take his collar off. We just got back from a dog walk, and we're going to a birthday party after this. So I left it on, but then I thought, I should take it off for recording, but he's sleeping, so I think it'll be fine. But if you hear jingling in the background, it's him waking up. Okay, I wanted to start off by thanking Gwen for her delightful comment on the blog. It reads, Jeanette, I love this blog. So enthusiastic and inspiring. Oh, you know what? Enthusiastic and inspiring. That reminds me of the acronym I use for the work that I do. In fact, the artist Bella Foster, she made me custom art that on the office wall, it says FUIE on it. And it stands for fun, uplifting, inspiring, and empowering. Inspiring and empowering. But I like enthusiastic too. Thanks, Gwen. She continues, I forget that I don't have to do it. Just get into alignment and the universe delivers. Oh my gosh, so true. And yes, it is easy for us to get that. That's why I have more than one episode on this subject. In fact, speaking of alignment, it's the subject of today's episode as well. So the other night, I was headed to a community meeting, and I was going in person. That means driving down the canyon, even though they were broadcasting it on Zoom. Some local residents had asked everyone to be there in person if they could be, and I could be. So I was on my way, but before I left, I just took a pause to ask myself, what vibration am I doing this with? Because there are two ways to go to this community meeting. And I wanted to check and make sure that I was actually helping the situation instead of making it worse, right? And community meetings aren't the only time to ask this question. Because there are, in fact, two ways to do everything. Well, there are more than two ways to do it, but just for simplicity's sake, we'll say there's two ways to do, well, no matter what we're talking about. One is with a helpful vibration, and one is with a not so helpful vibration. And we don't know what someone's vibration is just based on the action that they're taking. You know, like you can't assume the people who show up at this meeting are caring, empowered citizens. They might be feeling disempowered. They might be raging. They might be, you don't know. You don't know what someone's vibrating just based on what they do, because there is more than one way to attend that meeting, and I thought it's worth checking to see what vibration I'm bringing to this meetup. In fact, there's more than one way to do all the things that we're doing every day. Like you could cook dinner for the family with joy in your heart or with resentment brewing and exhaustion. You could pick up fast food takeout with relief and ease and joy, or with guilt and embarrassment. You could go to work as an employee with gratitude or with cynicism. You could take the supplement with confidence and appreciation, or out of a fearful attempt to protect yourself or heal yourself. You could apply for the loan with desperation or with possibility. You can step on the scale with curiosity and self-love and appreciation, or with attachment and insecurity. I've done both. You could accept your lottery win with joy and connection, or you can do it with trepidation and alienation. If there are two ways to go to a birthday party. There are two ways to do everything. That's my point. So, all right, going back to my community meeting, I realized I could go to that with the vibration of frustration, ready to do battle and fight against what I don't want. Or I could go as an actively engaged resident who knows that her voice is valuable and respected, and someone who expects to hear good news, and someone who's happy and delighted to speak up in support of what she prefers, knowing that everything is working out perfectly, always. And those are two very different ways to go to that meeting. You know what? There are also two ways to skip the meeting. I could skip the meeting out of hopelessness and disempowerment and pessimism or indifference. Or the other, I could skip it out of trust and confidence in the well-being of everyone involved. We don't know someone's vibration or their contribution to reality just based on their action, because there are two ways. There's more than one way to do everything. Someone who's sitting this out might be helping more than someone who's actively pushing against. And someone who's ignoring the whole situation altogether, doesn't even know there's a meeting happening, just enjoying their daily life, they could be a more powerful force for good than someone who's rallying the troops to do battle against the evil development powers. And of course, someone else's vibration isn't what we're interested in. It's our own vibration. What vibration are you taking your actions with? Because there's two ways to do everything. That's what I keep reminding myself. There's two ways to do this. Which vibration are you doing this with? And like I said, there's more than two, obviously, but let's make sure that we're bringing something good to the party. That's what this episode is just designed to help remind us, that the vibration is what matters most, right? Our alignment is what we want to tend to. Our action isn't helping if we're taking it with a vibration that's contrary to our desire. So make sure you've got good vibes flowing for whatever actions you take. Oh, I got a mama kitty joining us. So I went to that meeting. I realized I was going in support of my neighbors. I went because they asked me to, and it felt good to me to go. When I considered going and not going, it just felt better to go. So I set an intention for a positive outcome, and I didn't drag everyone with me, all my friends and neighbors, like they asked us to. They wanted to fill the seats and let the council know that this is a hot issue everyone cares about and everyone's paying attention to. I asked neighbors and friends, hey, are you going? Do you want to go? And no one did. So I went by myself with joy in my heart, knowing it was all perfect, instead of resentment that I'm the only one who cares. And I got a parking spot in the shade. Oh my gosh, they served cookies, and they were really good cookies. And they had drinks. And there was an armed deputy at the door, which reminded me, it just felt like an important meeting to be at instead of being intimidated. I was like, oh, look at us. We count. I was happy to be there and to feel like we mattered. And I got a seat by a delightful woman I've never met before. She was just amazing. A total pleasure to talk with. And she shared her notes with me from the meeting that I'd skipped the night before. And I got to practice listening to the opposition, not as the opposition, but as just another person who had desires in his heart and was doing his best to make his dreams come true. And I'm smart enough to know that we can all have what we want, that him getting his dreams come true doesn't mean mine aren't coming true, and vice versa. We can all have what we want, I reminded myself. And it did help that when he walked up to the microphone, I just heard, I feel like angels had a little mini intervention with me, because I was starting to brace out of something not good. I was just bracing. Oh, it felt like bracing for and I heard a little whisper in my ear, try not to hate him. And I giggled because it felt like it came from, my divine team. And I realized, I wasn't listening to him. I wasn't hearing him out with good vibrations. And I softened. And that felt better. And guess what? The commissioners, they asked critical questions. That was joyful. They asked good and critical questions. This was a new routine than I'd experienced before. I was delighted to hear it, because it felt like evidence that they were more impartial than some of the stories I'd heard, right? It felt good. And guess what? I wasn't there for this. 2 hours in, I was like, yeah, I think I'm out. They hadn't even got to public comment yet. They were 2 hours in. And they had more things on the agenda. This wasn't even my neighborhood's issue. This was a neighborhood next to me. They hadn't even they're 2 hours in. Yeah, so I drove home and I listened to the rest on Zoom, and it was a tie vote. I had never seen that happen before. I don't mean to shout. It felt like a miracle, because guess what? A tie vote means a no. It just felt like, just amazing. It felt really, really good. And then they eventually started talking about the vote that involved my neighborhood, but it was already 10 o'clock at night. This meeting started at 4:30 in the afternoon, and it did not feel good to me to stay up. I went to bed because it felt like, okay, this is going to be suffering if I keep listening to this more than the 5 hours I've already been tuned in. Because I remembered, it doesn't matter what we do, it only matters how we feel. And feeling good is something that I know how to prioritize and consciously find my way to on the regular, on the challenging topics even. And when I say that, that's part affirmation, part reality. Because I know the more that I say it, the more I live into it. And that's me using my powers for good, speaking what I want. You're using your powers for good too, right? Whatever that means to you. Because you winning doesn't mean someone else losing. We're each creating our own reality, and we each get whatever we vibrate. So when we don't let someone else's vibration spoil our own, and when we get consistent at feeling better, better things happen. Things go our way. Life is good to us, and it just keeps getting better. Isn't it fabulous how it works? Yeah. All right, thanks for tuning in today and for sharing these episodes with your friends and loved ones who could maybe also use a reminder about the power that they yield. Together, I think we're really getting the hang of this conscious creation stuff. All right, thanks everyone. Happy manifesting.